Columbus Mavungam for VOA News.
Let's move back to our top story at this hour. The Senate Ad Hoc Committee probing the Chakama massacre is today hearing submissions from different institutions. Earlier, the shareholders of Chakama Ranch, where the bodies are currently being exhumed, say they cannot be held responsible for what has happened there, saying the controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie is a squatter. They further said they were not aware of the preacher's religious activities. Let us now cross over live and hear what is happening.
Provision or the provisions that are under the Section 26 of the Mental Health Act are actually intended to respond to situations where guardianship, properly so-called, is supposed to be granted, or where there is a mental health issue certified by a medical practitioner, and so that it would not be a procedure that would be applicable in this instance, because the question of radicalization is actually much more grave than that it is actually a person who appears compos mentis in the sense that he appears sane, he appears normal, he appears to be in charge of his mental faculties, but his behavior based on the religious doctrines then places him actually outside that scope, and therefore needs first of all to undergo mental health treatment to come back to a state where they are able to appreciate the position that they are in. But I think it is something that is available to members of the family to use. I know that there are cases where members of the family have gone to court to challenge certain, especially the transfer of property. And I think we may need to also look at the provisions that we have within our law with regards to transfer of property, so that where it is not based on free will or manipulation, we are able to deal with that. So that might also be one of the measures which we can undertake, as well as the proposal that we had made that churches ideally should not own property on their own, but should have trusts that are set up for purposes of holding property. That brings me, Chair, to the question that was posed by, I believe, the Vice Chair of this committee with regards to the gaps that we have seen in the Societies Act with on regulation of churches. I think we have highlighted quite a number of them. But then perhaps the first question then becomes, because first of all, religion and the religious choices is so much a personal decision. And what the Constitution then protects is that free expression of personal religious choices. Then this brings into fore the other question of that then if it is a personal and free choice, it should therefore be made without any sort of coercion or restraint. So where there is any form of a person being compelled through either radicalization,
recording in progress,
or recruitment processes that are then defy or infringe on that personal choice, that is something that the law then must step in to protect. And I think that is now where we are trying to find that balance. And so therefore we would make a raft of recommendations. And the next question perhaps before we go into some of the recommendations that we would be making would be then that At what point then do you separate religion from business? So that if religion is an expression of a belief in a deity or whatever you believe in to be your religious views, at what point then do we step in and say, now this is becoming a business? And that is where the question comes in, that with my speaker and my microphone, standing on a street and expressing my religious views, I'm protected under the Constitution to express those views. But as I gather more people to join in assembly with me to express those religious organizations, then at that point, there must be some sort of regulation. Because it ceases being just merely an expression of a religious view, but it becomes now an association of people expressing a particular religious view, and so that those people, therefore, must be regulated. So the first question that then comes in would be, is there a need for some sort of minimum qualification and experience that is set by law before one is allowed to practice as a religious leader? Is there a need to say that before then you own a church as a pastor or otherwise, that we need to look into your criminal, if you have a criminal record, so that if you have a criminal record, we just don't wish it away and say, thank God you are born again, you are as white as snow because Jesus has cleaned your sins. Is there a need?
All right, and we shall keep you updated on those events as they unfold. But let's move on to other